Hi, welcome to Bookey, which unlock big ideas from world bestsellers in audio, text, and mind map. Please download Bookey at Apple Store or Google Play with more features. Get your free mind snack now. Today we will unlock the book Mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world. At the first sight of the word mindfulness in the book title, some of you might feel some apprehension. You might be thinking, I'm not a spiritual person who needs to be seated through a meditation exercise or practice mindfulness. Or I'm an atheist who believes in science. Why would I need to do such things? In fact, mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world, is not written for spiritual persons only, but for each and every of us. Living within modern society, we may often have experienced certain negative emotions, such as anxiety and depression. In fact, the Gallup 2019 Global Emotions Report shows that sadness, anger, and worry were 3 negative emotional indicators of respondents, which continue to increase over the years, and hit an all-time record high in 2019. The world has become sadder, more worried, and angrier than ever before. In this regard, Mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world by Mark Williams and Denny Penman may offer you a new way of thinking, as well as a solution to our current emotional state. The book Mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world, shares an 8-week mindfulness program and offers a series of simple and practical forms of meditation exercises. It aims to help us catch and withhold our negative thought patterns. Through practicing non-judgmental observations of the present moment, we will be able to get away from our negative emotions, such as anxiety, depression, and annoyance, and find our inner peace. The methods in the book are recommended by the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence as a priority treatment solution, and have proved effective in treating both depression and psychological trauma. The book was jointly written by Mark Williams and Denny Penman. Mark Williams is a professor of clinical psychology at the University of Oxford. He takes part in developing mindfulness-based cognitive therapy that can effectively prevent the recurrence of depression. Moreover, his research has been widely applied in dealing with the problems of anxiety and social anxiety disorder. Currently, the project of this therapy is spreading far and wide. For instance, the British Parliament has established the Mindfulness All-Party Parliamentary Group and released the Mindful Nation UK report. The other author, Dr. Danny Penman, has years of media experience. He not only knows the tastes of readers well, but is also good at articulating ideas and has rich experience in mindfulness practice. Using language familiar to readers to share his profound understanding of and insight into mindfulness, he helped Mark Williams complete this significant work on mindfulness. The mindfulness lessons introduced in this book are types of mental exercises rather than the dissemination of religious dogma and beliefs. In essence, mindfulness can help us catch negative thought patterns and prevent us from falling prey to negative emotions. It guides us to enter a new process of practice that puts us back in control of our lives. Next, we will unlock the content in the following 3 parts. Part 1: Why should we practice mindfulness? Part 2: The first 4 weeks of the mindfulness program. Part 3: The second 4 weeks of the mindfulness program. Before we begin our training on mindfulness, let's first think about why we should practice mindfulness and what it might mean to us. To better understand, think back into your past and see if you have ever had the following experience. After a very busy day, you finally burrow under the covers at night and get ready to sleep. However, at this moment, you begin to toss and turn and fail to fall asleep, as you are thinking about the loads of work that you need to do tomorrow. Though, because you remember that you must go to bed early to ensure enough energy for tomorrow, you try every means to fall asleep. But it turns out that, the harder you try, the less you feel like sleeping. So, you think more, and your mood thus worsens. The next day, you feel so tired, grumpy, and anxious, that your work tasks become a total mess. You try to find a solution that can get rid of your negative emotions, but you feel even more lost in your worries and feelings. The frantic, complex nature of society brings about increasing stress in our lives, and we are kept so busy that just a small form of discomfort can trigger an emotional chain reaction. As a result, we suffer from a strong feeling of uneasiness. Moreover, when we find ourselves in a particular environment, we can also feel overwhelmed by certain vague memories inhabiting our subconscious that stir up our underlying emotions. The environment stimulates more frustration and pessimism, making us worried, anxious, and tired. In modern society, we are playing the role of a slave trapped in our own negative emotions. Lucy offers a good example of this phenomenon. Lucy was an excellent procurement analyst for a clothing chain store located on the high street of a city, but she felt tormented and exhausted by the weight of negative emotions she possessed. When a project at work couldn't proceed further, she would become locked away in her thoughts and anxiety, and further punished herself for over an hour in a rut of self-criticism. Even when the plumber didn't repair the toilet in time, she would become hysterical. She kept working and analyzing data during mealtime, and just ate a chocolate muffin for lunch. Tremendous mental stress greatly affected her life. She became depressed and exhausted. She lived without knowing the meaning of living. What's worse, her state of mind also had a big impact on her daughter, leading to a long talk with the kindergarten teacher and her daughter bursting into tears. In effect, most people find it hard to get away from such a state of losing control over their emotions. It starts with a mechanism in our brains. Our brains have a mechanism that deals with threats called a fight or flight response. When people are confronted with threats to their survival, their minds lose control of their consciousness. Due to this, people easily get upset and feel nervous. They are both ready to fight or run away at any time in response to the danger. Thanks to this primal mechanism of protection, our ancestors survived their dangerous environments. This mechanism has been retained through human evolution, even though there are no longer external threats of attack by predators, such as tigers. Our brain's fight or flight mechanism can't distinguish specific threats. No matter whether it is a troubling memory or a future concern, this mechanism treats them all as serious threats, and is ready at any time to activate the protective mechanism. During this moment, people usually feel tension all over in their body, manifested by a frown or the churning of their stomach. In other words, they are overwhelmed by deep feelings of anxiety. If this happens repeatedly, they become exhausted, both physically and mentally. This clearly shows how our frantic external environment can stir up our inner world. The slightest bit of weakness or minor emotional shift can ruin your entire day, or keep you in a prolonged state of worry. When you try to use rationality to remove such dark thoughts, the critic in your mind will constantly try to denounce such actions. The more eager you are to remove negative emotions, the more stubborn your emotions become. This is why it was mentioned at the beginning that the more one wants to go to sleep early at night, the harder it is to fall asleep. Since people mix the external reality with their subjective emotions, they distort reality, lose their judgment of the facts, and gradually lose control of their lives. Lucy, who we mentioned earlier, was leading a life out of control. If you also get stuck in such a state, the mindfulness meditation exercises that we are sharing today can help you get rid of the pain. Professor Jon Kabat-Zinn is the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction. He considers mindfulness to be the act of paying attention in a specific matter, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. In other words, it refers to what we usually call awareness, meaning that we make no analysis or judgment of the present, and simply pay attention to it and observe it carefully. Mindfulness teaches us to break away from our previous perspectives and thinking patterns, and to avoid aimlessly following our habits of thinking and action. It teaches us that thoughts are just thoughts, namely simply activity occurring in our brain. They are not the reality, but our judgments about the ever-changing world. What's more, it teaches us tolerance that enables us to face our worries and sorrows head-on. Such tolerance will gradually dissolve our negative emotions and give us the courage to pursue passion and joy in life. The core of mindfulness is meditation assisted by yoga movements. In the next two-part, we will further explain in detail. All in all, the actual effectiveness of mindfulness has been proven by a great number of people who have managed to regain happiness. Mindfulness not only changes people's cognition, but increases their immunity to stress. What's more, it changes the physical structure of the brain and elevates our mood to a more positive and optimistic level. Besides emotional improvement, mindfulness plays a function of adjusting our physical health. Clinical trials show that since the time when people in Western nations began to practice mindfulness in the 1960s, the mortality rate has dropped dramatically. After an 8-week mindfulness-based cognitive therapy course, the relapse rate of depression decreased by 40 to 50% among people who had suffered from it 3 times over the course of their lives. That's all for part 1. All in all, mindfulness brings about great benefits to modern society. Most people in modern society are leading a life out of control. External pressure keeps them in a prolonged state of nervousness and anxiety. People are prone to confuse their subjective emotions with the real world, which exacerbates their pessimism and despair. The reason lies in the fact that the protective mechanism of our brains treats subjective emotions and worries equally as threats, and automatically turns on its protective mode. As a result, people instinctively become nervous. They easily get upset or suffer from a churning stomach. When this same nervousness interacts with other causes of stress from the external world, people's mental state worsens and feel increasingly worn out. Mindfulness can change this type of mental state. It teaches us to look at things with neither judgment nor comment, and accept our own emotions in order to achieve inner peace. Today we are just sharing limited content. To unlock more key insights of world-class bestseller, please download our app. Just search for BOOKEY at Apple Store or Google Play. Get your free mind snack now.